in the bottom. There we go. We'll go ahead and set that board aside for now. I actually pulled that tape off of the camera connector as well. So from here, this is going to be our digitizer connector. We can go and pull that guy up. So we're not going to be using that again, so I'll just kind of pull it up as quick as you want. We will see some of the adhesive left on the back here. And we will need a heat gun for this part. So from here, we'll go ahead and flip it over. What we're going to do is heat up all the way around. You're going to have adhesive on the bottom, the edges, and the top right up here. So what we're going to try and do is get enough heat to where we can lift this up without actually damaging that LCD underneath if we're not doing the LCD. So basically the procedure we're going to do is we'll start from the top, and you can see my power button fell out here. We're going to start from the top, and we're going to go around each side, and what I'm going to want to do is keep my tool pointed down so that I'm staying off of that LCD. We'll get around both sides, keep it nice and heated. Then once we get to the bottom, we'll be real careful that that LCD is not stuck to the bottom as well. So get that real heated up. I'm going to start just on either side. We'll go ahead and lift up. And you will want to use safety glasses for this part here too, so just in case that glass comes flying off. And I'm just going around the edge real easy, getting under that digitizer. Once you do get to the point where that front camera is on the other side, it'll probably fall out of the back as well if it hasn't already. So again, I'm going to go around the edges, and I'm going to keep that tool lifted up and slide it along that edge so I'm not putting any pressure on that LCD. And I can see it under my screen here. So, and that should lift up pretty easy there. So I'll go ahead and add a little bit more heat to the other side to make that come up a little bit easier. And we'll go and do the same thing on this side. You can start from right here and go across. Just again, be careful we're not putting pressure on that LCD. And I'll try and get under as much of that glass as I can at the same time. And we'll just slide it along the edge here. Make sure that glass is lifting up. Okay, from there we should have that top part. Again, we're going to want to be real careful at the bottom, make sure that the bottom of that screen is still not attached to that LCD. So look in there, make sure that we're getting separation before we put a lot of pressure on lifting it out. So from there I should be able to just lift up. You can see part of that edge tape is coming up with it, that's just fine. And we'll go ahead and pull that out away from that LCD. So we're going to set that to the side. So you can see on here we'll have these 4 little clearish clips. Those are going to go on the new digitizer. Those will let the light come through onto the buttons on the front. So what I'll usually do from here before I even clean out the housing is I'll take my new digitizer here, and I'm just going to put a strip of adhesive across where those buttons are on the back side. And what I'll do is put our plastic clips here back into the frame, and then I'll set that down to get those in the right position. Found it's a little bit easier. So usually what I'll do is just cut a little piece of adhesive, or if I have one of these strips that I can use half of, I'll just use that. And we'll go ahead and pull that off with the backing. Hopefully it should run across the whole side there. These do have a piece of film covering the back of that so we don't get any fingerprints, so we'll just lift that up as much as we need to. You can see this is the back of that digitizer. And we'll go ahead and set that just down across there so that we're getting a point of adhesive for all those little clear clips. So from there, I'll just leave that there for a second until we get our frame cleaned up and then put all those in there. Don't forget we can get those at shopfizz.com. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take my frame now, and we're going to clean up any kind of adhesive around here. So you can see there's quite a bit up at the top. I'm just using a metal spludger here. Again, being real careful around that LCD. Just going to clean all that off there. Just scraping all that adhesive off. Again, your camera is sitting right here, so a lot of times once you clean the adhesive around there, that'll pop off the back real easy. And we'll just set that aside, make sure we're putting that in once we're doing the reassemble. So we're going to go all the way around, get this down to bare plastic on the top and bottom. If you have any of the plastic left on the edges, you can go ahead and leave that on there. We'll just put our adhesive straight down on top of that. If it's real mangled, we'll go ahead and just pull that off or cut it off with an X-Acto knife. Okay, so from here we're ready to put our new adhesive on. I'll usually go ahead and do a quick clean on that screen just to make sure there's all the glass and everything off of there. We can use our spray here and a cloth. So, and you just need a little bit on that cloth, and we'll go ahead and wipe down that LCD and clean that up a little bit. And again, just making sure that that frame is clear of any adhesive so that the new adhesive will sit down on there a little better. And we'll go and clean that up. So we're going to go ahead and take our adhesive and put that down. You should be able to see from the patterns we should have a top, a bottom, and each side on these. So just start wherever you'd like, and we'll go ahead and set those down. Okay, so from here I've got all my adhesive laid down. I haven't taken the backs off just yet. What I'm going to do next is go ahead and give it a quick clean, and then we're going to do our little clips at the bottom of the digitizer here. So clean up any fingerprints, any dirt and dust that gets on there as you're doing the repair. We want to make sure that's pretty clean for now, since we're pretty close to putting our digitizer back down. So I'll go ahead and pull our top strips of our adhesive off. Make sure all that's pressed down as we go. Okay, so from here we're going to take our old digitizer and we're going to pull each of these clips off. You can use a little bit of heat to get those up, and we're going to place them back down in, obviously in reverse order as we're looking at it from the back. So those just peel off, and we'll go ahead and place them back down in where the bottom parts fit through on the very bottom of this frame. We want them just kind of lined up with that LCD, and then we'll set our screen down on top of those with the adhesive so that we're making sure we're getting lined up in exactly the right spot. So after we get that last one up, we can go ahead and toss our old digitizer. And we'll go ahead and take our new one with that adhesive at the bottom. And I'll usually go ahead and peel that whole backing off there, and just be careful with fingerprints now. And we'll go ahead and pull up that backing. We can just leave our cord out of the way here. We just want to get that set down in there a little bit so that we can lift those up. And as soon as our screen's clean here, we can route our cable. And we'll go ahead and set that down on top of there. So I'll just give it a little pressure for now. From the back, you should be able to see all 4 of your little clips sticking through. And we can go ahead and place our digitizer connector here. So we pulled off that adhesive, and you should be able to place it right back where the original was. So, and it will have just a little slack at the bottom so that it doesn't crimp over on itself. So we'll just kind of get that placed down inside there. So from there, we should be pretty good. If you need to, you can lift that screen back up a little bit and look if there's any hair or anything under there. We can go ahead and use some compressed air to blow through there. So from that point, we're good to go on the front. We'll go ahead and add everything back in the back. Make sure we have our front camera back in there, and we're ready to put our board back down on there. If you want, you can give that a little bit of a bend just to make sure it's not sitting flat and you can't get to it anymore. So from here, we'll go ahead and put our board back in. Depending on which version you have, our little part that juts out right here may need to go under the frame here. On some of it does, some of them it doesn't, depending on which when it was manufactured. So we'll just go ahead and slide that in here, make sure everything is underneath the frame where it needs to be. It's sitting around all our little screw holes here, and all our cables are sticking out. So I'll usually make sure that sits flush on the left side. You can see that didn't quite go under right there. So there we go. That should be sitting flush on the left side. Everything lines up on the right. You may need to press in the corners a little bit just to get that frame down in there. And from there, I'll go ahead and put my board screw, that one Phillips screw, in the very top outside hole. That should hold that board down. and we're ready to go and make our connections on all our cables. So on these, just be very careful. We don't want to crimp them over all the way. We don't want to bend or torque them more than they need to be. We will make sure all those gates are up like they were before. And we'll go ahead and slide each one of these in. And usually from there, I'll take either my tweezers or my plastic pry tool and go up the sides, just being real careful of any components around it. It should have the little parts that stick out of the connectors, and those should be all the way flush. And we'll go ahead and set our gate back down on that one. For our digitizer, same thing. We'll get that. On these, we do want to make sure they go in pretty much the top and bottom at the same time, so we don't want to push in the top and then the bottom. We can get in sideways a little bit and it doesn't work very well. So we'll go ahead and push that all the way up. Again, just be real mindful of what you're touching underneath and to the sides of each. Go ahead and get that pushed all the way up there, and we'll push that gate back down, and we'll do the same for the camera. So once that's slid all the way in, that one's usually a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and put that gate down. And we're ready to put the back housing back on. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and take our stickers that we took off before, our pieces of tape, and put them back on each of the individual connectors. Those will just keep those gates down and then keep anything from interfering from the back. So we'll just line those back up again best we can. And we'll put our back sticker back on, lining it up top right here. And we'll get our power button up top as well. And we're ready to fit that case back down. This should just snap in place all the way around. 2 clips on that side, 2 clips on that side, and then a couple on the top and bottom. And that should be sitting down flush how it should. We can take one last look. If everything looks good underneath, if we're clean underneath that digitizer, we can go ahead and use our heat and press everything down all the way around each edge where we added that adhesive. And we'll just put some pressure all the way around. Make sure that that's seated really well all the way around that frame.